Well, it looks like the Jets roster has been determined, at least for today anyway. Well, let's take a look at the roster, the practice squad, and some of the big moves made, not just by the Jets, but around the NFL. Guys, you know what's up. It's Wednesday night, and we are live. Well, welcome everybody to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Wa2K99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to join me. And on the Wednesday night live show, think about it. This is the last one that we're going to be doing for a while where there isn't NFL football coming up the upcoming weekend. So, hey, happy early Labor Day to everybody. We'll start with that. And one of the great things about Labor Day, it's a sign that the NFL is upon us. And what season have we ever been more excited than we are as Jets fans? Well, maybe the last one before Aaron Rodgers got hurt. But anyway. But what we're going to do tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about, do a little bit of a wrap-up of the preseason. I got a couple of players I want to recognize in particular. I want to talk about some of the cuts, about some of the signings that were made as well, and talk about some of the interesting moves I think going on around in the NFL. And, hey, who knows? The way things are going down, we could get news any minute. I mean, the Jets just released their practice squad in the last 20 minutes or so. But before we get into all of that, let's talk about what's on my mind in a little bit of what we like to call 3 and out. First of all, we're going to talk a little bit of baseball. Oh, my gosh. Now, as far as the New York Mets go, now I know they won last night in Arizona, and they beat a scorching hot team, and that's great. But the problem is the position that they have put themselves in. If they don't gain a game on Atlanta in a night, the night feels like a failure. It feels like an absolute failure. 3 games back of Atlanta, 30 games to go. For the first 2 wild cards, they're 6 back of San Diego and Arizona. So even if the Mets were to sweep the other 2 games against Arizona, they're still 4 behind the Diamondbacks. So it really comes down, the Mets have not been that bad since the All-Star break. They've actually been above 500. The problem, though, is these other teams have just been scorching hot, have the Diamondbacks and the Padres. That's sports sometimes, man. So, I mean, one more win. If they beat Arizona in one of these other 2 games, they have the tiebreaker on the Diamondbacks for the wild card, if that actually means anything. Not that I expect the Mets to make up 6 games on Arizona in the next 30 days. But congratulations to Pete Alonso. Hit his 220th career home run. That ties Mike Piazza for 3rd all-time in Mets history, trailing only Darryl Strawberry and David Wright. And over his last 34 games, he's hitting 264, 7 doubles, 9 homers, 21 RBIs, 19 runs scored. So Pete has a lot of critics, no doubt about it, that want to focus on the strikeouts and swinging outside the zone. Very fair, but you can't deny the last month or so, he's been really good. Now, as far as the New York Yankees go, look, they can win it all, no question about it. So can a dozen other teams right now. They have 2 elite offensive players in Soto and Judge. Outside of that, what do they really have? And baseball is the kind of game where you can pitch around players. Do you trust this pitching staff? Do you trust Garrett Cole? Very good, but has a knack for falling apart in big spots. And then after that, Nestor Cortez, Carlos Rodon. You have no idea what you're getting. They might give you a great start, but can you count on them to be great consistently, for 3-4 starts at a time? Because that's what it's going to take to win the World Series. So to me, all this really is, the Yankees are just treading water until the playoffs begin. Yeah, you can make a big deal out of getting the bye in the first round, but we have seen plenty of baseball teams since the 6-team format came in who got eliminated in the first round. So to me, it's not that big of a deal. You just want to get hot at the right time. And I did want to spend a moment here on the crosstown team, the New York Giants, just to give a little idea of what I've seen from them so far. I think they have a better offensive line. I don't think it's one of the best offensive lines. And maybe by losing Saquon Barkley, the Giants were able to – that's how the Giants were able to upgrade the line. They signed John Runyon. They signed Jermaine Illuminor. They even signed Greg Van Roten, which I know is a curse word around Florham Park. But you know what? With the Raiders, he was actually pretty decent. But you combine those three with Andrew Thomas and John Michael Schmitz, and you have a decently competent line. And I got to tell you, I like Tyrone Tracy at running back. You know, he's got some bursts. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He may surpass Devin Singletary later in the year. So if you're doing your fantasy drafts, be a little bit careful of Devin Singletary. I don't know how many carries he's going to be getting as the year goes on. And defensive line, clearly the strength of the team between Burns, Thibodeau, and Lawrence. The issue is they're going to have opposite receivers getting open before the pass rush gets home. You know, Deonte Banks could be a very good quarterback, but would I trust him as my number one? Would I trust him to stop A.J. Brown in Philadelphia, CeeDee Lamb in Dallas right now? I would not. Okay? Guys like Cordell Flott, he was bad before he got hurt. Nick McLeod was worse. You know, pretty much on the Garrett Wilson resume. You know, just ridiculous. And I just think Banks right now is the number one corner because they don't have anybody better. So that secondary is really going to hurt Big Blue as the year goes on. All right, well, let's say a couple of quick hellos to everybody in the chat. We got a pretty nice turnout early on. The great Hank G, channel member, is here. Good to see you here. Harlan Abraham saying hello right back. David D, how you doing, my friend? That's right, time to take off, so let's go. Yeti is here, and Yeti is early. He's getting used to the 6 p.m. time now, aren't you? All right, fantastic. Glad you're here. I think we got one or two other people who are a little bit who like to stay in the background. I appreciate them being here as well. All right, guys, it's time to get right into the main content because we got a whole lot of stuff to talk about. So you know what we got to do. We got to flip the script from blue to green, and we are going to, well, you know what? Let's take that trip over to East Rutherford, which somehow looks pretty good in the nighttime. Oh, yes, there it is. And then we got to say something. You know what it is. Every week we say it, so say it loud, say it proud. Let me hear you. That's right. Time to talk New York Jets football. And the first thing that I want to talk about, we're going to talk about what's going on in the news. But the first thing that got me pretty excited, this came out today. There will be an ESPN 30 for 30 about the New York Sack Exchange, Klecko, Lions, Salam, and Gastineau. Now, there's no release date as of yet. I don't even know if they've actually started filming it, but I am very much looking forward to this. You know, we know the names. We know some about more players than we do others, you know, especially with the push to get Klecko into the Hall of Fame. That became a very big deal. People started listing his accomplishments. We know Marty Lyons from doing the radio for so long. Also an excellent run stopper. His charity work has been amazing. Mark Gastineau, one of the best pure pass rushers that there's ever been, but a very controversial figure. You know, he was sort of ahead of the times with, you know, doing the sack dance, adding the entertainment, dating a Hollywood starlet, things that were kind of taboo back in the 80s. Nowadays, oh my God, everybody would know him. You know, instead of, you know, all the I don't know, maybe a bunch of teenage girls would be buying Mark Gastineau jerseys at this point. Who knows? And then you've got Abdul Salam, sort of the quiet man that not a lot of people talk about, the one who kind of goes under the radar. You know, I certainly hope that all four of them were interviewed, and maybe we learned some things in this documentary we didn't know before. I would expect certainly it'll go at least 60 minutes. I hope they can make it a 90-minute documentary. But regardless, I'm sure it will end with the induction of Joe Klecko into the Hall of Fame, because how could you have a better ending than that, right? All right, we've got the great Nate here. Nate, good to see you. That's right. I am the Wicker Man, and I am here, as I am every Wednesday. Yeah, and thanks to those of you who joined me for a little bit yesterday. We tried to time it just as the Jets roster was supposed to come out. Obviously, it did not work. We tried to catch some breaking news. Still had a good time. Still broke down a few players. and a few decisions they had made over the course of the day. But this time, the roster is pretty much in place, so I don't expect too many surprises. All right, so I'm very much excited for that 30 for 30. Hey, how about this too? ESPN's doing a 30 for 30 on the Jets, and it's going to be positive. What? A positive 30 for 30 about the Jets. I thought they'd do 2 hours on the freaking Buckmobile or something. You know what I mean? Unbelievable. All right, well, then we came to One Jets Drive. This was episode 3, premiered last night. So let's go through this. It was a preseason game against Carolina. That's where it started. And Brant Boyer was really hyping up the special teams. Each of these episodes, you've had the offense get their time, the defense get their time, and now the special teams, that makes me happy. I love my special teams. They got a little bit of attention on this show. It started with a bunch of different coaches basically giving their philosophy on football, how to succeed, basically the if it moves, hit it, except you got it for all these other coaches. Yeah, I like what Jeff Olberg said. Don't worry about the roster spot. Just attack every single moment. Translation, if you do the work, the result usually takes care of itself. I really like that, about focusing on the right things. And then we looked at Irv Charles for a little bit. So you had him singing on the sideline. That was interesting. Better than some of the other ones. I'll take him over Jerome Cap doing Eminem, even though it was a good impression. But Irv Charles, at one point, the camera's right on him. They, on a special teams play, running toe-to-toe with a Carolina player, takes a bad step on the turf at Bank of America Stadium, and that's when he gets hurt. Goes down to a knee on the sideline, but he's determined to come back, says he's good, and then later nearly blocks a punt, but you can hear him grimace, like really, really moan in pain, and he's hurt. So thankfully right now he is on the roster. He did not have to go to injured reserve, but hopefully Charles will be ready to go in just a very short period of time against the Niners. Yeah, it's only, 12 days away. We are Joe Namath days away is what we are from opening night. 12 days, 2 hours, but who's counting? That's right. So then after they talk about Irv Charles for a little bit, it goes back to Brant Boyer. And there's a reason Brant Boyer has stayed with the Jets as long as he has, through multiple coaches, through multiple players. Brant Boyer has outlasted pretty much everybody. It is pretty crazy. And he said last year, talking about the new kickoff return rule, last year, 22% of the kicks were returned. Only 22%. And I'll tell you, as Jets fans, it felt like even less because Greg Zuerlein was pretty much a guaranteed touchback every time. This year, he projects that may triple. Figuring out how to land it inside that landing zone between the goal line and the 20-yard line. Can't move till the ball is caught. Ashton Davis, they interviewed him. He said, just win your one-on-one, because when you have both teams lined up 5 yards apart, you have your man and you got to beat him. And if you don't, it could spring the hole for the returner to take it back all the way. Thomas Morstead, he didn't have a whole lot to say in this, but he did say one thing about Boyer, that he has, quote, unreasonably high standards, which is a good thing. I like that. Again, another reason Boyer has lasted. He is very much on it. There's a reason Mike Westhoff recruited him as a player and then as a coach. So to me, it's almost like we got little Westhoff right now. But then it goes on to the Giants talking about the joint practice. You get the actual audio of Aaron Rodgers say, jump off sides, boys. Good time to jump off sides. You want to jump off sides. And we see why Rodgers is considered one of the biggest trash talkers in the NFL. The touchdown to Breece Hall, where he basically made Isaiah Simmons' ankles turn all the way around in a 360, goes, you're an effing animal, number 20, an effing animal. And after that, it's more highlights of the Jets proving who the big brother in New York really is right now. It's the one that wears green. And so then the Jets are walking off the field. You get Garrett Wilson chants from the crowd, and Aaron Rodgers puts sort of like the pantomime crown on his head, just like that. And then the music starts to change. The mood starts to shift a little bit, and they go into the 2-minute drill. And this is where really most of the focus has been. I think one of the things with One Jets Drive, they have made it a focus to emphasize the things that could matter. You're not seeing a lot of preseason action like you used to in the last couple of years on these shows. It's more about joint practices and they spent a lot of time on the 2-minute drill. That long bomb to Garrett Wilson that even had Sauce Gardner shaking his head in disbelief. The interception Rodgers threw, which was overturned by defensive holding. The drive culminates with an Allen Lazard touchdown over the middle. And then you see the breakdown. Robert Saleh was watching the offense do their thing. And he said to the defense, you're going to want to watch that offensive tape. And then for the first time in the series, we see Woody Johnson show up. He's chatting with Aaron Rodgers for a second, and he's just like a little schoolgirl. He doesn't know what to do with himself. He's like laughing. He's sort of like bouncing up and down a little bit. Man, oh man, Woody can't wait for this season to get started too. As much as we get on him, and at times, he deserves it. I don't have any doubt that he wants to win. He just isn't always making the best decisions. But he knows what has to be done. And you know what? It's like he told Joe Beningo and guys like that, the Hall of Fame. You can't say that we didn't do everything we could to win. He said that last year, and it applies even more so this year. And then the preseason game against the Giants, this got a grand total of about 30 seconds. It was just a slow-moving video of the locker room while we hear the great Bob Wischusen called the game. By the way, can Bob Wischusen get more hockey games, please? Can we make Bob Wischusen like the lead voice of the NHL on ESPN? At least he gives some energy. Please, Bob Wischusen is just so good. But the team filters its way back into the locker room, very happy, 3-0 preseason. They played well, very few injuries, as few as we've seen in a long time. As Jets fans, we're used to one or two at least catastrophic injuries, and we haven't really done that. I mean, what's the worst thing that's happened so far? Malik Taylor being out for the year, maybe Michael Carter II hurt his ankle, but who should be fine. But then it gets a little more somber because Saleh reminds them, this is it for this roster. This whole group will never be together again. Cuts are coming. Then comes the final run of highlights. And then they say that the next episode will be September 12th. So after the regular season begins. So no more One Jets Drive until the regular season begins. Now, personally, I always like to see clips of who makes the team, those meetings, those phone calls. It's just not something that we get anymore, though, unfortunately. Let's say hello to Tony Alexio. What's up, my friend? Glad that you have stopped by tonight. Talk a little One Jets Drive. Now we're going to switch over. I want to highlight a couple of preseason MVPs. Some of these guys are pretty obvious, but there's a few other players I wanted to highlight as well and give them a little bit of just due. Certainly Xavier Newman on the offensive line. This is one of those players last year was a little bit of a joke, with the hello, Newman. But you know what? He really upped his game this year. 33 pass block snaps, 1 pressure allowed, a 9th out of 152 interior offensive linemen at run blocking. So his run blocking has been excellent. And not only that, he's been versatile. 29 snaps at center. 18 snaps at right guard, 16 snaps at left guard. We know that the Jets believe in versatility on offense, whether it's the wide receiver position, ask Denzel Mims, ask the offensive lineman. The Jets needed more than just Wes Schweitzer to play the interior line in case there was an injury. They needed somebody else, and Newman has really, really done that. So I think that's one of those more unsung success stories. So credit to him. And, with the defensive line, we got to spend some time there. Takk McKinley. When he was signed, I think most people said, okay, it's another reclamation project. We'll see what happens. You never know with this defense. I mean, the Jets can sign pretty much anybody on defense and be like, all right, we'll give him a shot at this point. But he was an absolute game changer. And week by week, he went from being on the outside looking in to by the end, it's like he has to be on the final 53. He has to be on the final 53, regardless of the waiver rules or anything like that. You've got to keep this guy, especially as long as Hassan Reddick is posting his workout videos, okay, and not in camp where he belongs. Braden McGregor, 2 sacks, 82.5 pass rush grade, a 22.4% pass rush win rate, 8 pressures on 49 pass rush snaps. McGregor is a pass rushing specialist at this point. I think his technique needs a little bit of fine tuning. I think early on in the year, it's a situation where he might be deactivated a little bit, but you have a very good raw piece of clay here to mold. no doubt about it. Eric Watts, to me, you know what? He made the team. I did not expect him to make the team. I felt the Jets would let somebody go from one of these three guys, but they kept Watts, and I was very surprised to see that. I'm good with it. You know, he didn't flash the way McKinley and McGregor did, but 1 sack, 4 pressures on 55 pass rush snaps. And he has the athletic profile. He's got the size to be a very good defensive end, but he is still very raw technically. It's just that McGregor seems a little bit more polished. I still think, though, when Reddick signs, the Jets may let Watts go and try to sneak him onto the practice squad. So I don't know. If Watts is the one who goes, I'm not going to be heartbroken. Now, I want to spend a minute here on Leonard Taylor. I believed he was going to be maybe a 4th-round pick, late 3rd-round pick. It's a player that we actually profiled at the beginning of this whole draft process, where we're going through all those different positions, and we broke down defensive tackle. But think about something. One issue with this defensive line is the Jets do not have a lot of long-term players at the defensive tackle position. You've got Quinn Williams. Thank God they got him locked up. After that, what are we talking about? Last year, it was Quentin Jefferson and Al Woods. The year before that, it was Sheldon Rankins and Nathan Shepard. 2021, it was Sheldon Rankins and Foley Fatukasi. And now this year, we've got Javon Kinlaw and an injured reserve Leki Fotu. But at some point, you know what? You need a longer-term option. You need something like that. Now, Kinlaw and Fotu are on 1-year deals. I believe Solomon Thomas is as well. So at this point, Leonard Taylor is not just a guy who flashed for this, flashed in the preseason, and you hope he can contribute during the year. This is a potential building block for the future. So he was signed to a 3-year deal for an undrafted free agent. That's very common. McGregor and Watts have similar deals as well. But that means the Jets have him through 2027, and he's making $798K, $963K, and just a hair over $1 million over the next 3 years. Those are the cap numbers for Leonard Taylor. Now, he's 22 years old. Remember this. And most of the issues he had in college were about coaching, using him in a position where he wasn't comfortable. Now, he could work on his hand placement, things like that. But you know what? To have that kind of a value for a player who could be this good potentially, we've seen him be a heck of a disruptor. That's something you got to be really, really excited about, especially as you have to start paying players from the 2022 draft class. Now, another guy I want to mention, and this guy I think went there, is Cole Laval, the offensive guard from the University of Hawaii. So he had 168 snaps through the first 3 preseason games, and he allowed only 3 pressures, and he was one of the best run blockers on the team. And I'm very glad the Jets were able to stash him on the practice squad. You know, he had offers. He had opportunities to go other places, but he chose to stay. And in college, he played every offensive line position except for left tackle. So he is very, very versatile, and there's plenty of teams who could have used him. I'm glad that we could keep him. And also, I want to give Jalen Key a little bit of love, too. 132 snaps in the preseason. Didn't do a lot wrong, didn't flash a ton. The Jets really moved him around the field, and he really showed what a good tackler he is. He has good instincts on where the ball was going to go, and he makes the tackle. Now, remember, 5 years in college, he did not allow a single coverage touchdown. So I think there's something there to work with, but for right now, it makes sense that he is going to be on the practice squad. And there's another reason why he's on the practice squad, which I'm going to get to in just a couple of minutes. All right, so now let's get into the roster and some of the moves that were made. So the trade, man, how surprised were you all yesterday when Brandon Codrington was traded from the Jets to the Bills? It was the classic Joe Douglas special, you know what I mean? Trade the 7th-round pick and the player for a 6th-round pick. You know, I was hoping maybe we could get a 5 back. It didn't work out. But my thing with Brandon was I was hoping he would make the team, especially after Carolina. But after the way Izzy Abanikanda played against the Giants, I was like, ugh. You know what? The Jets are not keeping both of these players. It just wasn't realistic. And the more I thought about it, you know, Izzy's been running a lot more decisively this preseason. You know, he already has the speed, and running back has the highest rate of injury of any position. And outside of returning, Codrington's not really going to do anything. They were afraid of losing him for nothing, so they got something back. It just sucks that it had to be Buffalo. So when the Jets play the Bills, he will either he'll take one in the house or he'll fumble something. It'll be one of the two, right? Yeah, 2 days in a row. Yeah, you're welcome, my man. No problem, Tony. So, and the last time the Jets and Bills made a trade, 1987. I mean, the movies back then were like Fatal Attraction, Good Morning Vietnam, and Lethal Weapon. Gas was like what, $1.25 a gallon. No, we won't go there, but you know what I mean. But postage stamp was probably what, 20-something cents. Anyway, enough of that. I didn't expect to trade, but you know what? Better than losing him for nothing. I just hope it doesn't come back to kill us. Now, as far as the cuts go, when the initial list of cuts came out, there was really nothing very shocking. And I think once Fotu and Yeboah went on injured reserve, that kind of opened some spots up a little bit. I was a little surprised to see only 2 tight ends. I think most people were as well. They cut Anthony Ferkser and Zach Kuntz. Kenny Yeboah going to injured reserve. And hopefully he will be back soon because he is very valuable on special teams. With Fotu on IR, that could open up another spot for Leonard Taylor to get a lot of playing time. And then the Jets did bring back, we'll get into all of that a little bit later when we go through the practice squad. But then you look at some of the claims that went on. Now, as far as losses, the only player the Jets lost was Shamar Bartholomew. And he went to the Carolina Panthers. And the Panthers apparently didn't have any cornerbacks on their roster aside from maybe J.C. Horn. Since Tuesday, in the last 24 hours, they have claimed 4 cornerbacks, 4 of them. Tariq Castro-Fields from Washington, probably the most notable one. But, I mean, is any Jet fan going to complain over losing Shamar Bartholomew? I doubt it. But Carolina claimed the most players. They claimed 6. That's the most of any team. And the Jets had 1 claim, and I want to talk about this guy a little bit. I want to talk about the master of tight ends, Brendan Bates, a tight end that they claimed from the Chicago Bears. So Brendan Bates is 6'4", 246 pounds. Now, he finished his college career at Kentucky with, let's see here. We have a little Brandon Ayuk update. 49ers practice is underway. No sign of Ayuk in warmups. And media is no longer allowed to watch full team drills. Ayuk is not expected there. Okay, so that's about it. So Brandon Ayuk is not practicing. Yeah, he can't rip up too fast. He should definitely rest week 1, right? He should definitely rest week 1. But anyway, so Bates was not a prolific receiver by any stretch in college. In 4 years, he had 26 receptions for 272 yards. Now, his past year, 4 catches for 89 yards. He even attempted 1 kickoff return. You know that's not why the Jets brought him in. But in 2023, he averaged 22 yards per catch with a long of 33. His only collegiate touchdown he scored all the way back in 2021. Now, Bates was used as a traditional wide tight end in Kentucky. Now, Kentucky runs that pro-style offense, so Bates was lined up basically next to the offensive tackle. His job was really to block. His job was not to go out there and be, T.J. Hawkinson or Travis Kelce. And Bates has also played a little bit of fullback, so potentially you could use him in that H-back role a little bit. Now, Bates was not invited to the combine, but he had a very good pro day performance. So his 40-yard dash was 4.66 seconds. Very, very good for a tight end. His broad jump was just over 10 feet high, and that was what really put him on the radar for the NFL. So he signs with the Bears. He has 6 catches for 100 yards in the preseason. So in just the preseason, he had more catches than he did in Kentucky. So it goes to show you, it's not that he isn't capable. He just wasn't asked to be a pass catcher in Kentucky. And his PFF grade, if you want to put any stock in that, was 85.8. That was higher than any rookie tight end this year, including Brock Bowers. Am I saying he's going to be better than Brock Bowers? Of course I'm not. But he did play quite well. So maybe he just wasn't used in that pass catcher role. They wanted him to block. And I've done a little bit of research, folks, on what the folks down in Lexington have been writing about him. And they will tell you the best thing that Bates does is run block. So it's something to keep in mind. All right. And so to sign him, the Jets do waive Jason Brownlee. That was one of those back and forth situations where you felt like, yeah, chances are he'll make the roster, but as soon as something comes up, the Jets will probably let him go. And indeed they have. I do expect them to try to keep him on the practice squad. But for right now, Jason Brownlee is an ex-New York Jet. And yeah, can't say I'm overly shocked. I showed flashes, just too dang inconsistent. That's just the way it goes sometimes. People sneaking into the chat. Hey guys, thanks for stopping in. All right, but then the big news of the day, probably the piece of news that I don't think anybody saw coming, the Jets Viking. Loves him. He loved him before the draft. Most people thought of Cine as being a second-round pick, maybe early third, but he went with the last pick of the first round in Minnesota. Now, here's the thing with Cine. He's a very aggressive, hard-hitting safety. He has very violent tendencies, and we know that matches up with what the Jets like to do. But he doesn't have the most size in the world, so that's just something you can't really help. But yeah, Cine is 6'2", so he has a little bit of size, but not as much as you want. But he doesn't have the best fundamentals when playing the ball in the air. So he is kind of a throwback in the box kind of safety, where you can actually hit somebody up at the line of scrimmage. That sort of like Jordan Whitehead, but a much better tackler. But the issue was during his fourth week in his rookie season, he suffered a compound fracture of his leg. And since then, he's needed multiple surgeries to get healed. And last year, he was active for only 7 games. During his 2 years in Minnesota, he played only 10 defensive snaps, was credited with 1 tackle. But this year, he played 150 snaps. That is the most of any Viking, 13 tackles and 1 sack. So that was very, very encouraging. I was a little surprised to see the Vikings cut him now, just as he seems to start getting better. Maybe they thought they could sneak him through, but the Jets said, oh, no, you don't. We'll take him right here. Safety with violent tendencies, yeah, we'll take that. And that means now Louis Cine is now the 10th first-round pick on this defense. Crazy. 10 first-round picks on the D. And that doesn't even include DJ Reed, Quincy Williams, guys like that, Tony Adams. Those aren't first-round picks. Man, oh, man, what a defense this could be. How much better could it be if Son Reddick would show up? But anyway. A couple of things. Hank G. Hi, Tony. Let's hope Martinez makes the practice squad for a Martinez package. We're going to get into that in a couple of minutes. I wanted to mention a couple of other players who were acclaimed as well, who stood out just because they're players that we've talked about, whether this year or the year before. Cody Schrader, who was a running back that I really liked, was a undrafted free agent from San Francisco. The Rams claimed him. Hassan Haskins. I think Greenbean was pretty big into Hassan Haskins. I think it might have been Greenbean, might have been Jeremy, one of the two. But he goes to the Chargers. They claim him from the Titans. Royce Newman, offensive guard, went from Green Bay to Tampa Bay. So a couple other ones. All right. Now, as far as Hassan Reddick goes, he still doesn't count towards the 53. The last thing we've heard from Adam Schefter is no talks right now. Well, you know what? I would expect that because the last couple of days, the Jets have had to create a roster. They've had to sign a practice squad. Right now, Joe Douglas and whoever else is in the front office, they have to create the best 53-man roster and 17-man practice squad that they possibly can. They have to worry about who is in the building, not who's out making workout videos trying to create leverage. All right. I really expect talks to resume later this week. I still am going to hold to my prediction. Hassan Reddick will play week 2 against the Tennessee Titans and slowly ramp up. I'm still going to stick with that. Nate likes both additions today of the tight end and the safety. That's right. JD being JD. Absolutely. And Joe Douglas, I trust. Now, as far as the practice squad goes, I think that's the next slide. Yeah, I'll do one more, then I'll flip over. All right, so with the practice squad, I only had 6 players I really wanted to see make it. All right, now, actually, I do want to mention, and this is kind of a disappointment, but Zach Kuntz is not on the practice squad. In fact, he was not only cut, he has not been claimed yet. I do hope somebody does take a chance on him because I would like to see him work out. But unfortunately, right now, the Jets decided to go with some other players, and it looks like they have indeed given up on the 7th-round pick from the Monarchs. So, well, can we all have a moment of silence in memory of Zach Kuntz's Jets career? Okay, good. So the players I wanted on the practice squad, I had 6. I wanted Sam Eguavoen, because he's been a pretty useful linebacker, fitting in roles when the Jets had an injury or need an extra player on special teams. He's been a pretty good piece there. Jalen Key, I've already talked to you about him. I like his game. This was not a safety who I really knew much at all about before the draft. I had about 15 or 16 safeties that I profiled, and Key was not among them. Okay. But I did like what I saw. Didn't love it, but I did like it. And I felt that there was something there to develop, and the Jets were able to keep him. Another player I wanted to keep, we talked about him, Cole Laval. His versatility, his numbers, all point in the direction of somebody that you want to keep and develop and could become a starter. I think it could absolutely happen. And I believe he was, an MVP or one of the top players in the United Football League not that long ago. So, yeah, I feel very, very happy they kept him. Very happy. And then Adrian Martinez. Yep, he's on the practice squad, beats out Andrew Peasley, which makes sense. I mean, Martinez, certainly he's a very good athlete, but there's still a lot there that he has to develop. But he is now the 3rd quarterback on the Jets. But he has to develop his accuracy, his decision-making, all that stuff, which can come in time. And I think we're all happy to see that Brandon Smith made it as well. So the Martinez-Smith connection will reign Monday through Thursday in all likelihood. All right. So I wanted those 5 to make it. The one player who I wanted to see make it but did not was Brady Latham. I was quite surprised that nothing happened there. And Latham was used in a bunch of different spots. They added him out of Arkansas right after the draft, but we didn't really hear too much from him. You didn't hear too much good or bad about him, but the Jets were trying him a lot at center, which is not a natural position for him. And maybe it was a situation where it was, you know what, we love you as a guard, but if you're going to stick on this 53, we need you to learn to play other positions. We need you to play all 3 interior positions so you could fit in anywhere at a moment's notice. So I never expected him to make the 53, but I was a little surprised that that Brady Latham did not even make the practice squad, or maybe he just refused to sign to the practice squad. Always possible as well. Hey, these guys, they don't have to sign there if they don't want to. So 5 out of the 6 players that I wanted were on. Now, here is the entire Jets practice squad. You have 17 players. You have, in alphabetical order, you got Sam Eguavoen, the linebacker. You got a guy named Obinna Eze, who's their international offensive lineman. You can keep a separate player, an additional player on the practice squad if they are international. So Obinna Eze, I thought he was wrestling in NXT as the North American champion. Well, that's Oba Effie or something like that. Anyway, Easy is on the practice squad. Anthony Ferkser was kept as well, so the Jets do keep a tight end. Nobody else claimed him, so they do have a fullback / tight end at a moment's notice. Jake Hansen. There were quite a few people pretty high on Jake Hansen. They wanted to see him make the team. Some people even wanted him over Xavier Newman. Well, that didn't quite happen, but he was one of the first signings that the Jets had to the practice squad. Bruce Hector. Bruce Hector reminds me a little bit of Tanzel Smart, who is no longer with the Jets. But Bruce Hector seems to be sort of that he shows up during the preseason games and will make a bunch of tackles, get a bunch of pass rushes, but you'll never see him during the games. He'll never get activated for that spot. But Bruce Hector is back. Jalen Holmes returns on the defensive end spot. And you know what? He's just a numbers victim. The Jets have all these young UDFAs. Holmes has a few more years on him. Just isn't room on the roster. I'm actually a little bit surprised that he stayed, that he signed with the practice squad, but he did, which is very cool. Jalen Key, Cole Laval, we mentioned both of them. They have made it. Adrian Martinez, he made it as well. Then a couple other guys, Marcelino McCrary Ball, sort of that linebacker, safety hybrid, who does hit very, very hard. You're always bound to see him at some point in the second half of the preseason games. He'll always get 1 or 2 big hits in. Lance McCutcheon at wide receiver. I believe that is the only wide receiver. No, one of two wide receivers the Jets kept. So they did choose to keep him. Jarius Monroe at safety. Kendall Sheffield at cornerback. Brandon Smith indeed does stay, as he absolutely deserves to do. And you know what? As good as he was, let's remember, it was against second and third strings. Let's see what he could do in those big spots. And Brandon Smith, he went to Iowa. That's right. Yeah, Brandon Smith is a Hawkeye. All right. And then you have Trey Swilling and Xavier Valladay. Valladay, of course, being the running back. So that is the practice squad as of right now. I would still expect a little bit more to happen. Now, Lewis Cine is not officially on the Jets 53, and he is not on the practice squad. So when the practice squad was announced at about 5:30 on Wednesday, my first thought is, well, where's Cine? What's going to happen here? Because every report that you saw, let me analyze this a little bit. Every report that we saw was saying, sign of the practice squad, sign of the practice squad, sign of the practice squad. And now he's not on it. So most likely what is probably going to happen is another player is going to go on IR, maybe a Isaiah Oliver. I think that is a very likely scenario. And then Lewis Cine takes that fourth safety role. I don't know how much you're going to play him. One thing with the Jets, their starting safeties play the entire game. Ashton Davis is the third safety. I wouldn't expect Cine to play much. In fact, he might even be deactivated for the first game or two. So that is very possible. So just because Cine is activated to the 53, and I think he could be, I don't expect him to get a lot of playing time early on. And we have the gift of giving going on. Tony Alexio has gifted a membership, and he has given it to, I believe, to Nate. Well, Nate, welcome aboard. You are now a Wicker Picker or a Wicker Clicker. Yeah, Wicker Clicker is what they're. Yeah, members of the channel, I call you guys my Wicker Clickers. So I definitely appreciate it. Maybe I should do a Wicker Pickers and maybe have a different tier for that. I don't know. All right. Well, Nate, next time I do a video, a recorded video, your name will be mentioned at the end of the video. It will be listed. So one of the cool things about membership, we don't do that kind of content here, dude. We don't do that kind of content here. But hey, you do start your own channel. I don't know. That's called OnlyFans, isn't it? All right. No, enough of that. But thank you so much. Thanks so much for doing that, Tony. I appreciate it. Wicker Digger, when you really want to come up big. Yeah. They're talking sports, going at it as hard as they can. Da-da-da-da-da-da. All right. Yeah. If I sing any more of that, they'll probably flag my ass for copyrights. We all know how that goes. All right, a couple things around the NFL that pertain to the Jets. So Kendrick Bourne, the Patriots wide receiver, is on the PUP list. So he will miss the first Jets game as he works his way back from a torn ACL. TJ Hawkinson, that's going to be an interesting one. He's on the PUP list for the Vikings, also coming back from a knee injury. So he misses the first 4 games. And the 5th game the Vikings play, you guessed it, in London against the Jets. Let's see if he's ready to play. Going to be interesting. Hey, Addison, how you doing, my friend? I will be on Addison. I'll be on your street in Chicago in just a couple of days. That's right. Yeah, Addison's one of the main streets that goes through Chicago. So, yeah, I will be in Chi-Town in just 2 days. Yeah, about a day and a half from now. I'll be going to a couple of the Mets-White Sox games. I will be hanging with the 7-Line Army on Saturday, do a little tailgating and pre-gaming and a whole lot of pre-drinking. So I'll try to get some video up to put on the page for sure. All right. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to see a team that the Mets should sweep, but we all know how that's going to go. If the Mets actually sweep them, I'll be absolutely amazed. But, yeah, definitely looking at some of that Chicago food, going to see some old friends. Got a couple places in mind that I'm already going to. David D says, Adam, I think you have a second gift membership. Yep. Tony sent another one. Oh, Tony trying to catch me there. All right. Very cool. Very cool. That's the only thing with the comments. I can't see as much on here as I can on the phone. It's very strange. All right. Okay, so yep, welcome. Here it is. Yeah, so Clancy underscore NY Jets, the newest member and the newest Wicker Clicker. All right. David D, thank you very much for pointing that out. Clancy, welcome aboard. Feel free to say hey in the chat if you like. They don't bite in the chat, and even if they do, they've already had their shots. All right. So we'll see if Hawkinson is ready to go, if he can handle a full load in England when the Jets travel there in the month of October. And as far as the Miami Dolphins go, oh, those funny fish, Bradley Chubb, Cam Good, Isaiah Wynn on the PUP list. They're out for 4 games. Of course, they don't play the Jets during that point, but it just goes to show you Dolphins have some issues. And again, I'm going to keep saying this all year long. I'm going to say it so much you're going to get sick of me saying it. Look at the Dolphins' schedule at the end of the year. It is brutal. They need to get off to a fast start. I heard Willie Colon today on WFAN say that, you know what, I need to see a fast start from the Jets. Well, you know what? What does that really mean? If they lose the first game against San Francisco, I'm not having a conniption over it. Now, they better be like 3-1 or 4-1. That I want to see. But again, Miami, I look at what they've got going on, and oh my gosh. You look at the final 6 weeks of the season. I'm going to say it again. Thanksgiving night at Green Bay, home against the Jets, at Houston, home against San Francisco, at Cleveland, at the Jets. Brutal what they're going to have to deal with. And remember, some of those games are going to be in cold weather. Green Bay, Cleveland, the Jets, even San Francisco around Christmas. I can tell you, Frisco gets cold. It gets cold. It gets windy, especially going against that defense. Oh, I've been in San Francisco in the month of May, late May, to watch baseball. And I had to have a blanket and eat soup out of a freaking bread bowl at a baseball game. All right. So, yeah, Miami, they're going to have a rough finish to the season, in my humble opinion. But we mentioned the Niners there. So let's talk about that just a little bit more. So meanwhile, on the Bay, see, I got that 49er hex color there. Oh, yeah. Actually, AA0000 is the 49ers red. A little bit darker than, say, Chiefs red or anything like that. But we are 12 days away, as we said, from opening night in Santa Clara, California. This is going to be, and I think Rich Samini said this. In fact, I know he did because he threw a snarky comment in afterwards. This will be the first matchup between the number 1 offense in yards per play against the number 1 defense in yards per play from the previous season during the entire Super Bowl era. So that covers, what, almost 60 years? That's pretty dang good. That is pretty dang good. But the Niners have a lot of drama going on. We just talked about Brandon Ayuk. He is not currently practicing with the team. I don't expect him to get traded at this point. I think the Niners at this point are going to wait it out because, seriously, the Niners have done everything in this era except win a Super Bowl. I mean, they are that good. No question about it. But how does it help them to trade away Brandon Ayuk? And I know how excited are you that they acquired Terrace Marshall off waivers from the Panthers? You know, you talk about a player who I feel is underachieved. Terrace Marshall, perfect example. But the Niners did claim him, so we'll see if what kind of role he has. But you know what? Trent Williams, right now it's a huge, huge issue. 3 years left on his deal. He's the 4th highest paid left tackle in football, even though he probably is the best, and he plans to keep holding out. And I don't know about you guys, but I will gladly take the trade of Hassan Reddick for Trent Williams. If we don't have Reddick, Niners don't have Williams, I'm good. You know what? Reddick can sit that one game. I got no problem. And you can't tell me these things aren't distractions to this team. Because, you know, everybody knows that 2 of their absolute best players, 2 of, I would say, probably the top 5 players on the team, certainly 2 of the top 3 on offense, along with CMC, I would say. You know, I'll put Ayuk ahead of Debo. I like Ayuk that much. But I would say 2 of the top 3 offensive players on this team not being there, it's a distraction. And I don't know. I don't know if Brock Purdy can handle that. I don't think he's going to handle it very easily. And also they put do I want to get to that? Yeah, and they put Elijah Mitchell on season-ending injured reserve. So no Elijah Mitchell either. So they take a hit at running back in addition to Christian McCaffrey already having a strained calf. And we know what strain casts do. They keep Kodai Senga of the Mets out for 2 months. We know what those do. Casts take a while to recover. Now, other news. The Niners, this is good news for them, not good news for the Jets. Leonard Floyd did go down holding his knee, but Kyle Shanahan confirmed it was a minor issue, and he is currently day-to-day. That was the latest that I saw, but I will. So, that was 2 days ago. Both he and Ricky Pearsall appear to be okay. Unfortunately, he's okay. Not wishing injury on anybody, but I did not need to see Leonard Floyd on the field. And Ricky Pearsall is back in practice after being out since the 6th of August. Now, he's only participated in, I think, 7 out of 20 sessions, but he should also be available to face the Jets on September 9th. A couple of other injuries, Yetur Gross-Matos. Now, he suffered a sprained knee. He is week to week. Now, he is their primary backup at defensive end. So Shanahan was not ready to completely rule him out for week 1, but it is very unlikely he will play against the Jets. That's one more defensive lineman to take off the field. Then you have D. Winters, who is one of their backup linebackers. He hurt his ankle against the Raiders, and he is going to have an MRI. As of 2 days ago, there are still no results, but he's been drawing a lot of praise in training camp. And as of right now, there is no diagnosis on that injury. So D. Winters is another one. And then you have Talanoa Hufanga, the all-pro safety. So he is apparently he's working his way back is what's going on. I think this is going to be one of those secrets where if he's going to be there, if he's not going to be there. Now, he was activated yesterday. Okay. So he's activated from the PUP list, but it's still very, very questionable if he is actually going to play. So let's see. I'm just going to see if I can get any kind of updates on this, because I know the Niners did claim a safety today on waivers. So right now their safeties are Jair Brown, George Odom, and the rookie Malik Mustafa, who a lot of us really, really liked. I wanted him on the Jets. Now, he tore his ACL last November. He has not rejoined practice. So right now, Mustafa might have a little bit more time. But the latest news that I have, and that is as of this afternoon. Let's see. So they claimed a safety from Detroit named Tracy Walker. All right, so they added Tracy Walker to their practice squad, and right now the expectation is Walker will be elevated for the season opener. So if that is the case, Hufanga will not be available for the Jets, which would be a pretty big loss. Walker, 6-year veteran, 29 years old, played 79 games, has 43 starts with the Lions. Okay, so that's what we're looking at there. So right now you have some good news and bad news with the injuries as far as that goes with San Francisco. And to think next week, we're going to start previewing all this stuff. Can't wait. Yeah, we'll be doing the videos with I still haven't decided how we're going to do it on Wednesdays. I think certainly we're going to do recaps and news and stuff like that. But with the previews, usually I do those on Thursday or Friday once injury designations have come out, once more news has had a chance to reveal itself. So I don't know if we're going to be doing like a full preview on Wednesday, but we could start to do maybe an overall scout. I think that's the type of thing that we'll be doing on Wednesdays. And then I'll be doing my separate bowl predictions video. I'll be doing my confidence predictions where I try to pick the winner of every game. Last 2 years, I've gotten a 95.4% rating, so I guess I could do it okay. I think I'm okay at this stuff. All right. Some things I'm not very good at, but I can pick a game pretty well, I think. All right. And then, of course, after the game, the 3 plays you may not remember that affected the outcome of the game. So you're going to see that every week. Christmas may be a little bit difficult, but every other week you will. The Great Wild Wave. Da, 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 da. All right. You make me want to say, yeah. I'm glad you're here, my friend. What's up, brother? Okay, guys. All right. Well, hey, quick reminder, guys. I haven't said this yet, and I should have. Hit the like button. Hit that thumbs up. Because you know the deal. If we get to 15 likes, let's put the banner up there. There we go. We get 15 likes. We spin the wheel tonight. And right now, from what I could tell, we are just a little bit short. Last I saw, yeah, guys, we're at 12 likes. So if you want to spin the wheel, and I know there's more than that of you in the chat, you got to click that thumbs up button. And let's get the word out about the channel. Get the have that little algorithm super boost or whatever it might be. So all that good stuff. All right, but while we're waiting for that, it is time for one of the most popular traditions of the New York Sports WickerMedia channel. It is a tradition that predates the New York Sports WickerMedia channel. Every week, you guys know what happens. You know what happens. I go down into the basement where I keep just an entire library of Jets and NFL knowledge. I bust open the books. I break out the encyclopedia. I pull open the websites, and I challenge you, the most loyal fans of the most loyal fan base in all of the NFL, the New York Jets. Just how much do you know about your favorite team? So if you are ready, let's play Jets Trivia. Okay, guys. So I actually did a little bonus trivia question. Oh, Yeti, thanks so much. Thanks so much. No, Yeti, you have not missed trivia. We are just about to do it right now. Right now. Trivia bores Bobby, though. Don't you know that? Hope he's good. Another swig of water for the working man and woman. Okay. All right, guys, you know the deal. So I am going to give you 5 minutes to get this question. We actually did a question last night, give you a little bonus trivia. It was Tuesday trivia, and it did not take very long to get that for the chat to get that one right. In fact, it was a clean sweep. One player had all 5 answers correct. So, all right, guys. So here is the question tonight. And you know I try to make it kind of topical, make it relevant to what's going on. And being that the Jets have filled out their 53-man roster, I thought I would make it about the actual roster. And your question tonight goes like this. Name the 3 current New York Jets who are drafted by the Atlanta Falcons. What New York Jets started off doing the Dirty Bird? You know, like this, the Dirty Bird. I do the Dirty Bird, and now we're doing JETS, Jets. Yeah, Harlan, I did a little surprise show just out of the blue. Got home from work early, and I decided to go on right at 4:00 when I was hoping the roster would be announced. Didn't happen, so it was just a little 45-minute show. Okay, so let's see. We start. Hank G starts off with Hassan Reddick. Is the answer Hassan Reddick? It is not Hassan Reddick. Wild Wave goes with Tack McKinley. Is it Tack McKinley? You bet it is. Tack McKinley, a first-round pick. That's right, a first-round pack, I almost said. Tic Tacs. That should be a sponsor, Tic Tacs, right, for Tack McKinley. Why not, right? Yeah, I can see that working. But yep, Tack McKinley, originally drafted by the Atlanta Falcons. There are 2 more. Can you name them? Without looking it up, of course. Yep, Harlan mentioned Tack is 1. Yep. Last weekend without football, guys. Feels good. Feels good. I'm excited. Yeah, look forward to going to Chicago for one last little getaway before everything gets going. Yeah, definitely be sure to have an Italian beef at Portillo's. You guys know, if you know anything about me, you know I love my Italian beef sandwiches. Got 2 or 3 breweries already picked out. I'm going to hit up. I've even got a place in my hotel in Rosemont that does coal-fired pizza, coal-fired wings, really good meatballs. So I'm going to have an amazing restaurant in my very own hotel. It's going to be amazing. Free breakfast, free cocktail reception. It's good stuff. Hank G goes with Quincy Williams. Quincy was a 3rd-round pick, I believe. 3rd-round pick, and he was drafted by Jacksonville, not Atlanta. Okay, so we need 2 more. And we got 3 minutes and 9 seconds to go on the clock. And we're at 13 likes, guys. I know we got more than 13 people here in the chat. We got well more than 13. Yeti knows what's up. Italian sausage and beef. He likes the Chicago combo with the sweet and the hot peppers. There you go. Nice. Yeah, love that stuff. I got to do the sweet and the hot peppers. I usually just go with the beef. As much as I love the Italian sausage as well that they have there, I just love the beef so much, and it's so hard to get. I want to eat the beef, you know? And the bread at Portillo's is just so good. It's great French bread, holds up, doesn't get soggy, has great flavor. Wild Wave says, give us a hint. One offense, one defense. All right? One offensive player, one defensive player. We got the great Johnny Jimenez. Check him out at Jets Worldwide, along with the great Snowball. That's right. It is snowing 12 months a year now, isn't it? Yeah, hope you're doing great. Hope you make it out to AJ Gators to watch some of the Jet games with the rest of the group, Johnny. Hope you get a chance to do that. All right, so again, name the 3 current Jets who were drafted by the Falcons. So far, we only have one. We've named Takk McKinley. We've got 1 minute and 45 seconds left to go. Then after this, I guess the Mets start in about 2.5 hours. Okay. Harlan with a good point. Jets have a few players from Atlanta because Ulbrich used to coach there. Indeed, he did. Hank G says John Simpson. It is not John Simpson, unfortunately. David D, of course, says Lee Cravat. He gone! It's not Lee Cravat. Yeah, you know what? Now I'll be on the south side. I'll be hearing that he gone shit nonstop. Every time the White Sox strike out a Met, I'll be hearing he gone. Tony giving in. Y2K 99 has stomped us. That's right, just like Michael Strahan. One offensive player, one defensive player. Both are backups. I'll give you that. We got under a minute, guys, but they're both on the 53-man roster. And I've named both of these players during the course of the show. I guess the tricky thing about it is both of these players, the teams they were drafted by, they both had another stop before they became Jets. So it's not as if the Jets got them from the team that drafted them. You know, it's not as if the Jets got them directly from the Falcons. They went from the Falcons to another team, different teams respectively, and then they went to the Jets. 10 seconds left, guys. Yeti goes with Xavier Newman. No, it was not Newman. I don't think he was drafted. Yeti with the late save. Yeti with the late save with Wes Schweitzer. Wes Schweitzer is correct. He was drafted by the Falcons. That's 2 out of 3, but time has unfortunately run out. No, Mike Williams was drafted by the Chargers. DJ Reed was drafted by the 49ers. All right, guys. So this was only 2 out of 3. Unfortunately, it came very close. The correct answers are David D with one last guess trying to say Tony Adams. Tony Adams was not drafted. He was an undrafted Illini. I think, University of Illinois. So, yep, he was undrafted out of Illinois. The correct answers are Takk McKinley, Wes Schweitzer, and Isaiah Oliver. Isaiah Oliver was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons way back when, and now he is a New York Jet. So that is the answer to the trivia question for tonight. Everybody, it's been a whole lot of fun. I had a great time doing this. I'm excited to do this next week, and check out the channel over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I'll try to sneak in maybe a couple of quick short videos from Comiskey Park and from Cork and Bowl, which is where I'll be doing the tailgating with the 7-Line Army before we begin our walk to Guaranteed Rate Field to watch the Mets hopefully do what they need to do against the Chicago White Sox. All right, guys. And again, thank you to Tony for gifting those 2 memberships. I appreciate it very much. Everybody, thank you so much for coming, hanging out with me tonight. Enjoy the rest of your week. And we're only 12 days away. And I'll see you right back here with more content from you know where, the Wicker Chair. Good night, everybody.